Holy shit, Nosebro just killed my anus.
Do you think this is a one-shot Ganon? Oh, well, isn't this touching and adorable?
I feel like it. Maybe I'll make Link's game from now on. Dude, pick up the rock. Like, what the actual fuck, dude? Pick up the rock. Oh my god, pick up the rock. Hello everyone and welcome. A lot of you guys had been requesting for me to do a Q&A where I actually give serious answers about stuff. So that's what we're doing today. I have a list of questions, or you ask every single day on stream, that many of you have requested that I give serious answers for. And to help me with this, I have the lovely Mrs. Specs to actually ask the questions. I should have alcohol for this. It's the only way I'm going to get through these dumbass questions.
The dumbass questions?
I know it. I know they're stupid. A lot of them are, no, that's fine. I'll answer. I'll do it. I'm okay.
Okay, Specs, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Why do you say, feel free to take your pants off?
I say feel free. So this actually started as a meme a while back. We were doing a run. We were just goofing off and saying dumb things in one of my runs. And right as we were doing that, I think it was Demon who raided us with a large party after he was done with one of his streams. And just as a gag, I said, "Oh shit, guys, put your pants back on, Demon's here." And it kind of rolled into this thing of having your pants off or being caught doing shit with your pants off. And it sort of digressed into me always saying whenever someone subscribes to my channel, me say, "Welcome to the Looney Bin, feel free to take your pants off." Which is kind of fun because the way I think about it is watching a stream with your pants off is like the ultimate form of like comfort. Like having your pants off, have a big tub of ice cream just kind of resting on your beer belly. It's the ultimate level of comfort. And so I always tell people, hey, feel free to take your pants off, enjoy the stream. Whether you're a guy or a girl, feel free to take your pants off and just enjoy, get comfortable. It's my way of saying get comfortable, you know? One person had just come into chat and I said it to a person whose username clearly identified them as a woman. And someone who was new was like, "You say that to women who come into your channel?" And they got like just super offended because they didn't understand it was a thing.
Don't assume my gender. Alright, what's the difference between Wii U and Switch?
As far as speedrunning, the Wii U is a lot laggier. It was kind of, so back before the Switch got the 1.6 update, which was the one that integrated the VR, it was the slower console, but as far as lag was concerned, it was much better. And for those of you guys who don't know, lag is a big thing in Breath of the Wild because it has to do with your launches, it has to do with how fast things load in the game. Overall, more lag costs you more time. And so it was kind of a pain, and you probably remember me back then when I was running on Wii U always complaining about how laggy it was and how much horrible lag it had.
You did, I remember.
When the Switch got its update for 1.6, it became faster load times. That includes even less lag than it had before and less of a loading time to the point that it was a faster console to run on, which was great because then you got the best of both worlds. You got the great loading time and you got, running on the Switch that had the less lag. So you can still speedrun on the Wii U. It's not that much slower. I think it only loses like 10-15 seconds on any percent. And then on 100% it's closer to like 10 minutes, but there isn't a single record on Breath of the Wild speedrunning for 100% that's 10 minutes difference. So it's really not that big a deal. So if you have a Wii U, you can run on Breath of the Wild still. It's just more of a pain because of the lag and it's slightly slower.
Is Breath of the Wild your favorite game or speed game?
Breath of the Wild is not my favorite game. I really liked Breath of the Wild when I played it. I still enjoy it to this day. It's got a lot of things about it that I dislike. Things like, like any Zelda game, Nintendo has a really hard time porting over features that it had in a previous game. For instance, in Twilight Princess, you could swing your sword as you were walking. So you could literally just like swing as you were walking. For a game that incorporates motion controls in Skyward Sword, it makes sense to continue that. they didn't. In Skyward Sword, you can't walk while you're swinging, and it's a little bit of a disappointment. They've done that all throughout the entire series. The same thing, Skyward Sword, they had shield durability, and it had a little gauge. If you remember watching Skyward Sword, it had like a little gauge that showed you exactly how much durability you had and how close your shield was to breaking. Enter Breath of the Wild, you would think, oh my god, yeah, the same exact thing, right? Have a little durability gauge. It doesn't. You basically don't find out that your weapon's gonna break until it's like 3 hits from breaking.
Just 3?
Yeah, and then it like starts flashing red. But other than that, you get no indication. Another example of Nintendo not really carrying over items. Overall, Zelda games really aren't my favorite games. I think my favorite games that I've ever played have been games that really had captivating and engaging story. Destiny was one of them. I really liked Destiny because of how good of a story it had, despite it being a first-person shooter, which isn't my favorite. Horizon Zero Dawn is probably one of my favorite games of all time, just because of how great of a story it is. I'm not a big fan of turn-based games, but the way that Child of Light did turn-based combat was also extremely good. I really liked it. Final Fantasy XIII was another turn-based game that I really enjoyed. Final Fantasy XV, despite it being super slow with the travel with the car and it being kind of a sausage fest, I really liked that game too.
Sausage fest.
It really was. It was 4 dudes in a car talking absolutely nonsense. It's just, there was the conversations they had in there were just stupid. It was nothing. It was filler. But the game in itself was so good compared to Breath of the Wild. The combat system in Breath of the Wild, again, phenomenal. There's a reason I speedrun the game. It's such a good game, but not my favorite. Not at all my favorite. Favorite speed game? Absolutely. I love speedrunning Breath of the Wild. Ever since I started, I've been hooked. It's just such a good game. Such a good game as far as speedrunning it. Mostly because, and this is from me watching other speedruns of speedrunners that I've seen, it's probably the least punishing game I've ever seen.
Least punishing?
If you make a mistake in Breath of the Wild, it's not the end of the world. Other games, even modern games, if you make a small mistake, your run is over. You like physically cannot continue the run. Whereas like I've been speedrunning Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, those have a lot of run ending glitches and a lot of run ending tricks that it's really frustrating sometimes. So favorite game? No. Favorite speed game? Absolutely.
Are you planning on going back to running DLC?
No, I am not.
Never, ever, ever.
The reason why I started running DLC in the beginning was because it was fresh, it was new, it was exciting. And so I did a DLC run. And then a new glitch was discovered, and so I went back to DLC. And then I left it. The reason why I don't run DLC is because my ultimate goal of running every single 3D Zelda game, DLC just doesn't fit in it at all. It's just not there. It doesn't, it proves me no worth to run DLC, because when I do my full 6 Zelda game speedrun, DLC is not going to be a part of it. It's not going to be one of the games. It would have to be no DLC. So it proves me no merit to run DLC. Sometimes I run it as like an incentive because you guys ask for it a lot. Sometimes I just want to do it as a curiosity to see how low it can get, especially with like a new glitch, but I never plan on running it actual seriously, besides it being like a one-off thing. It's because it's extra cutscenes that can't be skipped, a couple extra collectible items in an extra dungeon. It really doesn't interest me in the slightest.
Will Breath of the Wild 100% be at GDQ?
No, it will not. I actually submit Breath of the Wild 100% every single year to GDQ, and every year they say no. Recently, I tried submitting to GDQ Hotfix, which is kind of like their off-season stuff that they do every now and then to like, you know, show stuff off, I guess, to keep their revenue. And they flat out emailed me back saying, we don't do anything over 8 hours, and even that's a lot. So thanks, but no thanks. So unless Breath of the Wild 100% gets below 8 hours, I don't foresee it ever being at GDQ.
Below 8 hours.
Exactly. Now, that being
Maybe
said,
someday.
I have promised my viewers this year, 2020, that if Breath of the Wild 100% doesn't get accepted to SGDQ, which, fingers crossed, I'm going to be going to GDQ and doing a run live in the practice room. So look forward to that.
Practice room.
If you guys don't already follow me live on Twitch, be sure you follow me live on Twitch and turn on your notifications so that when that does happen, you guys can see it happen. But no, it will never be a starred or featured run on GDQ, I don't think.
Just in the practice room.
Yep, just in the practice room.
How do you remember where every Korok is?
I've been running the game for 2 years. Repetition, and I feel like I read something online somewhere about where if you do things in a certain order, your brain has an easier time memorizing it. And if you do it like in the same order every time. So I feel like me doing things in a certain order, I remember it because I'm like, okay, and then after this one is that one, and after that one is that one. If I were forced to do the run backwards, I might have a harder time. I might have a harder time, but I can do the full run without notes. I do occasionally look at notes because the run changes so often that it's sometimes hard to keep up with all the changes and what I have to do next and what segment, etc. So I do have my notes open always, but I can do the whole run without them if needed.
Alright. How do you prepare for a run?
I don't really, not anymore. I used to. There used to do a whole lot of preparation. Nowadays, besides preparing a few snacks and sticking them in my mini fridge, I don't really prepare all that much. But back when the run was in single segment and 30 plus hours, there was a lot more preparation that had to be done. And it was a lot easier for me to cancel a run because there's a very specific mindset that has to be had in order for you to do a full 30 plus hour run. So very, very small things would cause me to cancel a run. Having my neck hurt, not being in a good mood, small headaches, stomach aches, anything small like that would cause me to end a run because you're sitting there for 30 hours and starting off on that foot is not good. Those things will come up and you'll still continue the run, but if you start the day that way, it's not good. Nowadays, I do a little bit more exercise using Ring Fit. I try and drink more water and eat a little bit healthier. Especially helpful now that she does keto. So basically she feeds me no carbs, which I have noticed an extremely big difference in my energy levels and all that sort of thing. And
Keto
better
for
food.
life.
And it's better food. Yeah. So yeah, but as far as preparation for an actual run, like beforehand, besides preparing a few simple snacks, I don't do a whole lot anymore.
Cool. How do you decide whether to reset a run or keep going?
So nowadays I don't really reset. If I do end a run, then I just end it for good. But back when I was doing Breath of the Wild 100% as my main focus, it mostly has to do with mindset. Because burnout is a real thing. You see all the time speedrunners who do this professionally, they get burned out, they stop running a game for like a few months, or they just stop running a game period and they move on to another game. It's because of burnout. If you focus so hard on a game and put so much mental effort on speedrunning a game and you don't do well, but you keep on pushing, it's really easy to burn out. Which is why oftentimes, even though I'm ahead in the run, I'll still end the run. And you guys have probably seen it many, many times. I'll be ahead in a run and I'll be like, nope, not continuing this at all. It's because of that mindset. It's because I don't want to get, burnt out on the game. That even though the run is still salvageable technically, I don't want to continue for 18, 19 hours with a bad attitude because that'll leave a salty taste in my mouth and it'll make me not want to speedrun anymore. So it's more of a matter of me gauging my mental state.
Good self-regulation. I like that. If you didn't run Zelda games, what would you run?
Horizon. I've wanted to run Horizon Zero Dawn for a very long time, and I talked about how it's one of my favorite games. It really is an extremely good game. I would probably run Horizon. I've always thought about running games like Super Mario 64, SM64, Super Mario Sunshine, those older Mario games. But I ran Super Mario Odyssey a little bit, and it wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it. it was fun doing it once, but it's not something I can see myself doing long term. So those kind of platformers, I don't feel like they're the kind of games I can get into. Games like Skyrim, games like Horizon, those are really the games that I feel like I can get into speedrunning. So it would be one of those style games. Far Cry maybe is also that style of game I can see myself getting into runs.
Specs, will you speedrun Breath of the Wild 2?
Will you speedrun Breath of the Wild 2? I don't know. It's expected of me to do it. I'm definitely gonna seriously consider it. I want to play the game first and see, because it could suck or it could be great, but I don't want to speedrun it. We'll see. If it is very much like Breath of the Wild 1, chances are yes, I will. However, that being said, I need to play it first.
How much time have you put into Breath of the Wild?
A lot. I put a lot of time into Breath of the Wild.
All his time.
All my time into Breath of the Wild. Is that complaining?
90% of your time. 90% of your time.
It's a job. It's a job that I very much enjoy. I play for anywhere between 5 to 10 hours a day when I'm not doing a run, and then when I am doing a run, it's also 10 hours a day. So multiply that over the course of 2.5 years. A lot of time. I put a lot of time into this game. I like it.
Good. You better like it. How do you route such a long run?
Oh, it's a process. It's different than when I started out. When I started out running, it was one of those things where you just had so much spaghetti in a bowl that you needed to organize. It was best for you to just flop it on the table, if that makes sense at all. So just kind of get something on paper.
Somewhere.
Just get something on paper, even though it doesn't make a whole ton of sense, and then just kind of mold it from there. So I start off with getting just like a basic priorities route where, okay, what's the most important thing in the run? Okay, well, the thing that's probably going to save the most time is getting your memories first, getting your speed food first, unlocking certain things like that. And then from there, you can kind of shape and mold the route into what you want, getting certain divine beasts, prioritizing the things that would save the most time early on, and then just kind of structuring around that is probably what I do the most. Nowadays, it's just small tweaks that I do, because the route is pretty set in stone. Every now and then I'll find small tweaks that I can do, small sections I can kind of switch around. But besides that, yeah, small stuff. But before, when I first tackled routing Breath of the Wild 100%, it was a matter of me just getting something on paper, and then from there slowly molding it and switching it around into being a feasible fast run.
Why run 100%?
Because I'm a completionist. For two reasons. I'm a completionist, and I'm not interested in really, I guess, vague runs. Runs like all shrines, runs like all main quests don't really excite me all that much. If I were to speedrun a game, the only categories that would really interest me are any percent and 100%. They're direct, they're to the point, the structured.
Some would argue 100% is subjective.
It is more subjective than any percent, but less so than things like all main quests, all shrines, all dog rewards. It's much more straightforward than those ones. Again, you are correct, it is very subjective, but the completionist in me is willing to look past that, because I like beating the game a whole 100%. So yeah.
What did you play before Breath of the Wild?
Kind of just anything that I liked. What games did you and I play before I started playing Breath of the Wild? We played a lot of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
We played a lot of Horizon, a lot of Yoshi games we played.
What was the other one?
There was a
Mario?
Yeah, and then there were Mario. Yeah, Mario Party we did. We played Mario Party with my family a lot. Yeah. Pretty standard games.
What is your goal time?
My goal time was sub 24. I don't know if I have a goal time anymore.
Sub 20?
I feel as though if you keep on making those, again, very subjective goals for yourself, you feel more disappointed when you don't hit it.
True.
Like, I've seen so many runners who get a PB by a lot, but it's not past that goal, so they're disappointed in the run. Like, I remember seeing one Mario runner who his goal was sub 1 hour, and he got a PB by like 4 minutes, which for a Mario game is insane. He got a 4-minute PB, but it was like,
Oh, mi amor, ya es tarde, ya es de noche.
Pero mami.
No sé. Oh.
¿quieres sentar con nosotros? She looks at you. Okay. Parenting. On hold. Do you approve of the quantity?
Yes. ¿Dale el patito?
What was the question?
What is your goal time?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, a Mario Runner. He PB'd by like 4 minutes, and he was disappointed because he was 15 seconds off of that sub 1.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's like,
Con
okay, sentate conmigo. And so, like, he was disappointed because he didn't hit that goal time. And to me, I'm just sitting here thinking, dude, you got an amazing PB. Like, be happy about it. So I don't like. I'm not going to stop running Breath of the Wild. I have no plans on stopping running Breath of the Wild regardless of what time I get. So there's no real point in me making like a subjective goal time for me to hit when hitting it is going to mean nothing. You know what I mean? You know, hitting that goal time is not going to mean anything to me. And if anything, it feels like I'm limiting myself. You know, hitting sub 20 is basically me saying, oh yeah, sub 20 is pretty much all I'm capable of right now. And it's so hard.
Or it's like the only thing that would make you happy
is reaching sub 20.
Sub 20 instead of getting a PB.
Exactly. And getting a smaller PB than sub 20 is good, is really good.
It's great.
And
It's
so
really
I
long
feel
run.
like it sets me up for not feeling disappointed in good runs. And I've had runs that didn't even PB, but I was still happy with the run. And I feel like that has to do with me not setting a goal time for myself. So just be happy that you're still going fast. And if you do get a PB, be happy that you're going faster than you were before. Yeah.
Awesome. Next question. How low do you think no DLC and DLC can get?
That is a different question. And that actually is a good question. DLC and no DLC. DLC is like an hour and a half away from no DLC, so it's whatever no DLC is. With our current glitches and knowledge, we could probably get like a god tier ZFG run would probably be close to the 18s. It would be in the 18 range. Maybe
18?
maybe a low to mid 18.
Okay, but tangent question. What about your sum of best?
My sum of best when I created it ended up being a sub 19. So a high 18. We've changed the route since then. We've found new discoveries, and that sum of best wasn't even perfect. It was decent movement, decent execution with no mistakes. I'm talking really good movement, really good execution, no mistakes, with our current knowledge, low to mid 18. Now,
Nice.
that's for no DLC. With DLC, mid to high 19 is what I'll say. So yeah.
Baby raspberries.
Baby raspberries.
Who's your favorite NPC and who's your least favorite?
My favorite NPC and my least favorite NPC. Favorite? Probably Rivali. He's a very misunderstood character and probably one of my favorite characters. He's the one that I relate with the most and one of the most misunderstood. Rivali is my favorite character. Least favorite character? Hudson. Everything in our route revolves around Terrytown. That dumbass not being able to collect wood for himself. Hudson's a jerk. His
He
goofy
hates
ass hair.
Hudson, can you tell?
His goofy ass hair.
What is your least favorite part of the run?
my actual least favorite part of the run is the beginning segment. The first 2 hours where we go without speed food, we go without upgraded hearts and stamina, without upgraded weapons. Just that whole first half gets progressively better as we start collecting stuff. But then when you start a run all over again, you lose all of that stuff. You go back to having no speed food. You go back to having 3 hearts. You go back to just basically being a crappy runner. So it's especially frustrating when you fail something or you run out of stamina or you die because of that. So my least favorite part of the run is that beginning part where we're still not quite upgraded to where we need to be.
And what is your favorite part of the run?
Conversely, my favorite part of the run is closer to the end. Not necessarily the end. Probably everything. The wrap up. Just the wrap up feels so good. Where you're just collecting everything. You're getting to the end. You're finishing off your last shrine, your last Korok seed, your last memory. It just feels so good. That completionist part of me just feels happier.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay up so late?
It's not that hard. Again, now I don't do runs for more than 10, 12 hours, so it's not really that big of a deal. Back when I did single segment runs, apple juice, it had water that I needed to keep me hydrated, and it had a lot of essential natural sugars that helped me stay awake. So yeah, I used apple juice. Really yummy.
What console do you play on?
I play on the Switch because it's fastest. Version 1.6 brought us the VR and faster loading times.
Going back to the original question.
Going back to that original question.
What controller do you use and how do you hold it?
I use a Switch Pro controller.
You have a hand cam.
Mm-hmm. I have a hand cam for those of you guys who want to see how I hold the controller. So yeah, I use just a standard Switch Pro controller. The way that I hold my controller is basically normally I have my pointer finger that does all of my moving around stuff, and then my thumb controls my whistle. This is because you have to mash the whistle button. So I'll have this finger controlling my movement, and then this finger holding down the whistle button, and then this button doing that. And then oftentimes I'll move this finger around. It's kind of weird, like over my thumb, and that controls my camera. That's usually how I run, like that, and then I use these two for that. I don't really need these buttons when I'm whistle sprinting and stuff, but most of the time this is how I'm holding my controller. It's like that. So yeah, thumb on the B button, and then this button wraps around. This finger wraps around to control my camera angles. This finger controls my movement. This one holds down on the sprint button, and then these two control my rune. That's how I hold my controller. It hurt for a little while when I first started, but you get used to it.
He's got calluses on his hands.
I do have calluses on my hands from when from holding my controller.
Gracias, Luli. Luli wrote a new question.
She wrote a new question.
When do you pee/eat? What do you do if you have to poop?
There's a lot of cutscenes in the game that allow us to pee. Most of them give you upwards of a minute and a half to use the restroom if you need to run to use the restroom, or stand up. Every single tower cutscene is about 55 seconds to a minute. So, and there's 11 towers. So you've got 11 moments, if not more, to just get up and use the restroom. I have my lovely wife here who brings me food most of the time.
I do.
So I don't have to get up and prepare it myself during the run.
Sometimes if I'm mad at him, I just won't bring him food. So if you don't see me for a long time, that's probably it.
Oh, man. You shouldn't have said that. It's not true.
It's not
That's
even
not true. But now people are going to think that. If they're like, where's Mrs. Specs? Are you guys in a
Are you
fight?
fighting?
No, that's not true.
It's not. It's probably because I'm not here.
She's
I'm
probably
working.
just at her mom's house or working. But
Or
yeah,
shopping.
most of the time she brings me
That's what I
food.
do.
As far as pooping, that answer is, what did you do when you had to poop when you were at school, when you were at church, when you were at that girl's house that you wanted to fuck? You just held it in. So yeah, just hold it in. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. You've done it before. It's not that hard.
Oh my god. Papi, eso no se dice, papi.
Ay, lo siento. I'm not supposed to say those
Don't
words.
say bad words.
And what's the next question?
That's it.
That's it!
That
I'm
goes
free! I don't have
for
to
all
answer these
questions.
stupid ass questions. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you got your question answered. If you didn't, join my Discord and suggest other questions for maybe a next time. If we can control this chaos. Thank you guys all for watching and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
That whole last hour that we're doing the final memory. Comiste todo.
Qué rico.
You ate it all.
Mmm.
Show the camera. Show la cámara. Que comiste todo. Show them. You ate it all.
Mira, comí mucho.
She ate it all. We've got all we got the cat, the dog, and Luli in here. Everyone's in here right now.
Cagato.
Mommy, this is not.
Okay, another question. What's your cat's name?
Our cat's name is technically Snow.
But we call her.
But when we first got the cat, Luli didn't know how to say Snow. So she just said gato, which means cat.
Gato.
Which is funny because she is a female cat. So she should technically be called gata, which is for female. So we call our female
she's
cat
gato.
male cat. So we call her gato because that's what Luli calls her.
Yeah. She's gato. And she's so sweet. Ow. Got my hair stuck.
Yeah, you got your hair stuck on a pin. Hold on, stop pulling.
This is going bloopers. Ow!
This is going on bloopers.
Mommy, is this
Oh yeah, you got it really stuck. I
How
don't know
did
what
that
you did.
even happen?
I don't know, but
I
you like.
didn't do anything.
I'm getting it. Hold on. You're free.
My hair. I'm free. Gato likes the microphone.
Gato likes the microphone. Just playing with the microphone.